Knew it for, a Daleville native is being honored as the USS Tripoli's Junior Sailor of the Quarter. Aviation Boatswain's mate 3rd Class Dashawn Moseleypalmer was selected for outstanding performance of duty in running quality control for aircraft fuel. Moseley is a native to Daleville and he graduated high school in 2019, joining the Navy shortly after. He says he was inspired to serve his country because of his parents, who were both retired soldiers, and his brother, who serves in the Air Force.